What if I told you there are secret vegetables that could completely change your garden, making it stronger and more productive than ever before? Today, we are counting down 15 forgotten medieval crops that could literally save your garden. These aren't your typical carrots and lettuce. These are ancient, super resilient plants that have been lost to time. For example, have you ever heard of skirret? It was once more popular than the potato, a sweet root vegetable that kings and peasants both loved. So why don't we grow it anymore? That's the question we're going to answer for this and 14 other incredible plants. This isn't just a history lesson, this is a survival guide for your garden. We're on a mission to uncover the secrets of these forgotten foods, from a vegetable that tastes like oysters to a plant that threatened the entire coffee industry. Each one has a crazy story. I've spent the last month researching, finding these rare seeds and learning everything I can about them. What I discovered is going to blow your mind, so get ready, because we're about to go on an epic journey back in time. We're counting down from number 15 all the way to the most incredible forgotten crop at number 1. I challenge you to watch this entire video without wanting to immediately go out and plant at least one of these. This is 15 forgotten medieval crops you need to know. Let's get into it. Kicking off our countdown at number 15 is the mind-blowing skirret. This was the root vegetable of the Middle Ages, way before potatoes showed up and stole the spotlight. Imagine a bunch of thin, white carrots all fused together at the top, but with a taste that's sweeter than a parsnip with a hint of pepper. It was a delicacy, served at royal feasts and cooked into pies and stews. It's packed with nutrients and incredibly easy to grow. You plant it once and it comes back year after year. It's practically a self-sustaining food source. So why don't we grow it anymore? This is the crazy part. Skirret has one major flaw for industrial farming. The roots are a pain to clean. They're thin, numerous, and have a woody core that you have to remove. It takes time and effort, something big agriculture just doesn't want to deal with. They wanted something smooth and uniform, like a potato, that could be processed by machines, so they just let it disappear from our food supply. It was forgotten not because it wasn't delicious or nutritious, but because it wasn't convenient for massive corporations. Think about that for a second. An amazing, sweet, perennial vegetable was erased from our diets because it was a little tricky to peel, but for a home gardener, that's nothing. You can harvest these sweet roots every fall, leaving a few behind to keep the plant going for the next season. It's a perfect example of a crop that thrives in a garden but fails in a factory. It's a testament to how much we've lost by prioritizing industrial efficiency over flavor and resilience. Coming in at number 14 is a plant with a truly royal name, Good King Henry, but don't let the fancy name fool you. This was the ultimate peasant food, and it's an absolute powerhouse for your garden. This thing is often called the poor man's asparagus because in the spring you can harvest the young shoots and cook them just like asparagus, but that's just the beginning. The leaves are like a super nutritious spinach. You can cook them all summer long, and then the flower buds can be steamed and eaten like tiny broccoli florets. It's like 3 vegetables in one. The best part? It's practically indestructible. Good King Henry is a perennial that loves to take care of itself. Once you have a patch established, it will self-seed and spread, but not in an aggressive, invasive way. It just hangs out, providing you with food from spring until fall with almost zero effort. Imagine having a patch in your garden that gives you asparagus, spinach, and broccoli every single year without you having to replant it. It's the definition of a low-maintenance, high-reward crop, perfect for anyone who wants to grow more food with less work. So why did this amazing plant fall out of favor? It has a slightly bitter taste, which modern palates aren't used to. We've been conditioned to prefer bland, sugary vegetables, but that bitterness is actually a sign of its incredible nutrient density. It's packed with iron, calcium, and vitamins. It was a cornerstone of the medieval diet because it provided so much nutrition for so little effort. It's a survivor, a giver, and a true forgotten king of the garden. At number 13, We have a vegetable with a name that sounds like a medieval battle axe. The Mangelwurzel. This absolute monster of a beet can grow to be enormous. I'm talking 20 pounds or more. In the 18th and 19th centuries, this was one of the most important crops in Europe. Why? Because it was the ultimate two-for-one deal. The massive roots were a primary food source for livestock, fattening up pigs and cattle through the long winters. But when times got tough, people ate them too. It was a literal famine food. The Mangelwurzel is a survivalist's dream. Not only does it produce a massive amount of food from a single seed, but its storage potential is insane. These roots can be stored in a cool, dark place for months, sometimes all the way through winter, until the next spring. When other food sources were scarce, families could rely on their store of Mangelwurzels to survive. They would boil them, roast them, and even brew them into a type of beer. It was the ultimate security crop. Its decline is a story of specialization. As agriculture became more industrialized, farmers started growing specific crops for animal feed, like corn and soy and other crops for human consumption. The Mangelwurzel, which did both, was seen as inefficient. It was a master of all trades in a world that demanded specialists. But for a self-sufficient homesteader or a smart gardener, having a crop that can feed both your family and your animals, and that stores forever, is an incredible advantage. This isn't just a big beet, it's a piece of living history that represents resilience and survival. Next up at number 12 is one of the most bizarre and delicious vegetables on our list, Salsify, also known as the oyster vegetable. And yes, you heard that right. When cooked, the root of this plant has a distinct flavor that is shockingly similar to oysters. It's a long, thin, dark-skinned root that looks a bit like a dirty parsnip, but the taste is something else entirely. Medieval chefs would use it to add a savory, seafood-like flavor to soups and stews, especially during winter when fresh fish was hard to come by. It was a culinary magic trick growing right in the garden. But you know, the flavor isn't the only incredible thing about Salsify. This plant is tough as nails. It's a biennial, meaning it grows for 2 years, but you harvest the root after the first year. The amazing part is that it can withstand seriously harsh winters. You can literally leave the roots in the ground, frozen solid, and they will be perfectly fine to harvest whenever the ground thaws. In fact, many people say the flavor gets even sweeter and more complex after a few good frosts. It's a true winter survival food. Just imagine being able to go out into your frozen garden in the middle of January and dig up a fresh vegetable that tastes like oysters. That's the power of Salsify. It fell out of fashion simply because it looks a little weird and requires a bit of scrubbing to clean the dark skin. Again, it was a victim of the modern grocery store's demand for perfectly uniform, easy-to-process vegetables. They traded a unique and amazing flavor for something that just looked nicer on the shelf. This is a gourmet vegetable that you can grow with almost no effort. At number 11, we have a plant that was once a staple in every monastery garden, Alexander's. This plant is basically the ancient ancestor of celery, but in my opinion it's way cooler. It was brought to Britain by the Romans, and for centuries it was the go-to aromatic vegetable. Every part of the plant is edible. The stems can be cooked like celery, the leaves used as an herb, the flower buds can be eaten like candy, and even the black seeds can be ground up and used as a powerful, spicy substitute for pepper. Before industrial salt became cheap and plentiful, plants like Alexander's were incredibly important. It grows wild along the coastlines and has a naturally salty, celery-like flavor. People would use it to season their food, getting both flavor and essential minerals. It was a key ingredient in Lenten potage, a simple vegetable soup eaten during Lent when meat was forbidden. It provided a rich, savory flavor that made simple meals delicious. It was the original all-in-one spice rack and vegetable. So what happened to Alexander's? Celery happened. As plant breeders developed modern celery with its thicker, less fibrous stalks and milder flavor, Alexander's was simply left behind. It was considered too strong, too pungent for the developing modern taste. But that strong flavor is its superpower. It's more intense, more aromatic, and frankly, more interesting than celery. It's a taste of history, a plant that connects us directly back to Roman soldiers and medieval monks. Cracking our top 10 at number 10 is the incredible sea kale. This is one of the toughest, most resilient vegetables you will ever find. As its name suggests, it literally grows on harsh, windswept beaches, getting blasted by salt spray and battered by storms. And it doesn't just survive, it thrives. This plant is a beautiful architectural specimen with large, wavy blue-green leaves. It was a delicacy in Victorian England, but its history goes back much further. It's a true survivor. The edible parts are what make it so special. In early spring, the young shoots are blanched by covering them with a pot or a pile of sand. This keeps them white and incredibly tender. These blanched shoots are then harvested and cooked like asparagus, with a delicate nutty flavor that is absolutely delicious. After you harvest the shoots, the plant produces beautiful white flowers that are also edible, followed by young seed pods that can be eaten like snow peas. It's another multi-purpose powerhouse. Sea kale is a perfect example of a food we've forgotten how to use. It's a perennial, so you plant it once and it will feed you for 20 years or more. It requires almost no care, is drought tolerant, and is completely untroubled by pests or diseases. So why is it forgotten? Because the process of blanching takes a little bit of effort. You have to physically cover the plant for a few weeks. It's a hands-on process that doesn't fit into a massive mechanized farm, so this gourmet vegetable was abandoned. Coming in at number 9 is a plant you've probably tried to avoid your whole life. Stinging nettles. I know what you're thinking. Why would I ever want to plant that? But I'm telling you, you are missing out on one of the most powerful superfoods on the planet. Yes, the fresh plant stings you, but that's just its defense mechanism. Once you cook it or dry it, the sting completely disappears, and what's left is a nutritional powerhouse that puts spinach and kale to shame. For centuries, nettles were a vital spring tonic. After a long winter of eating preserved foods, people would harvest the young nettle tops, which are incredibly rich in iron, calcium, and vitamins A and C. It was used to cleanse the blood, boost energy, and fight off illness. They would make it into soups, stews, and even beer. Medicinally, it was used for everything from arthritis to allergies. It's not a weed, it's a free, wild-growing medicine cabinet and multivitamin. The reason we don't eat nettles anymore is obvious. They're inconvenient. You have to handle them carefully with gloves, and the idea of eating something that can sting you is a hard sell for the average consumer. But the reward is so worth the tiny bit of effort. You can find them growing wild for free, or you can cultivate a patch in your garden for an endless supply of nutrient-dense greens. Don't fear the nettle. Respect it. It's one of nature's most generous and powerful gifts. At number 8, we have a forgotten oilseed that's making a serious comeback. Camelina, also known as gold of pleasure. This isn't a vegetable you eat directly, but it produces something incredibly valuable: oil. For thousands of years before canola or sunflower oil existed, Camelina was a primary source of cooking and lamp oil in Europe. It's an ancient crop, a member of the mustard family that produces tiny seeds packed with a healthy, versatile oil. The amazing thing about Camelina is its resilience. This plant is incredibly cold tolerant and can be planted in the fall or early spring long before other crops can go in the ground. It grows fast, suppresses weeds, and doesn't require a lot of water or fertilizer. It's the perfect crop for improving your soil while also producing a valuable resource. The oil itself is a goldmine of nutrition, with a perfect balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, even better than flaxseed. Camelina was pushed aside by higher-yielding oil crops like rapeseed, also known as canola, and sunflowers, which were easier to process on an industrial scale. But those crops often require heavy chemical inputs. Camelina, on the other hand, is a low-input, sustainable crop that benefits the land. For a homesteader, being able to press your own healthy cooking oil from a plant that also improves your soil is a game changer. It's a step towards true food independence. For number 7, we have a plant with a rebellious history. Chicory root. You might know chicory for its pretty blue flowers that grow along roadsides, but its root holds a secret that once threatened the entire coffee industry. When you roast and grind the root of the chicory plant, it brews into a dark, rich beverage that tastes remarkably similar to coffee, but is naturally caffeine-free. During times of coffee shortages, like the Civil War or World War II, chicory became the go-to substitute. This plant was so effective as a coffee replacement that it was actually banned commercially in some places because it threatened the profits of the powerful coffee industry. They didn't want people to know they could get a similar experience for a fraction of the cost from a plant they could grow in their own backyard. But chicory is more than just a coffee clone. Medicinally, it's a powerhouse. It's packed with inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds the good bacteria in your gut, aiding digestion. It's also been used for centuries to help regulate blood sugar and support liver detoxification. It's the perfect plant for the modern world. It's a perennial that you can harvest year after year. It breaks up compacted soil with its deep taproot, and its flowers are a beautiful bonus. The fact that a giant industry once tried to stamp out this humble plant tells you everything you need to know about its power. It offers freedom from caffeine, a boost for your gut health, and a delicious, rich drink you can produce yourself. At number 6 is a plant that, honestly, often gets a bad rap due to its toxic look-alike. But cow parsnip is actually a gentle giant and a fantastic, forgotten edible. It's a huge plant, often growing taller than a person with these massive leaves and big white flower clusters. Now, it's super important to be 100% sure of your identification, but once you are, a whole world of food just opens up. This was a staple food for indigenous peoples and early settlers across North America and Europe. The best part to eat is the young leaf stalks, harvested before the flowers appear. You have to peel the outer skin, and then the inner stalk is crisp, juicy, and tastes kind of like a very strong, sweet celery. It was a vital source of fresh greens in the early spring, but, it wasn't just for people. As the name suggests, it was also a valuable fodder crop for livestock. Cows and pigs love it, and it provided them with a rich source of early-season nutrition. Cow parsnip has been forgotten largely due to fear. Its resemblance to the dangerously toxic giant hogweed makes people terrified of it, and rightfully so if you can't tell them apart. But honestly, this fear has caused us to lose touch with an abundant, delicious, and useful wild edible. With proper knowledge, this plant is a gift. It's a massive, fast-growing source of food for both the table and the farm, a true giant of the medieval landscape. Now we're getting into the heavy hitters. At number 5 is Scorzonera, also known as black salsify, or sometimes the viper's grass. This is the tougher, more flavorful cousin of the Salsify we talked about earlier. It has a long, thin root with a black skin. But when you peel it, the flesh inside is this creamy white. The flavor is even more refined than white Salsify, with a delicate oyster-like taste and hints of hazelnut and asparagus. It was considered a gourmet vegetable for centuries. What makes Scorzonera a garden superhero is its incredible resilience. This plant is virtually immune to pests and diseases. It just grows, completely unbothered. But its real superpower is its cold hardiness. Like Salsify, you can leave it in the ground all winter long. Even when the soil is frozen solid, the root underneath is perfectly preserved. This means you can have a fresh vegetable to harvest from your garden in December, January, and February. It's honestly like having a living root cellar. Scorzonera became obscure for the same lazy reason as its cousins, the appearance. The black root looks dirty, and when you peel it, it releases a sticky latex-like substance which is harmless and washes off. It was just too much work for a food system that values convenience over everything else. But for a gardener who wants a reliable, disease-resistant, delicious winter vegetable that asks for nothing in return. Scorzonera is an absolute champion. At number 4, we have a plant that is, honestly, the definition of abundance, the Welsh onion. First off, it has nothing to do with Wales. The name actually comes from an old German word, Welsche, meaning foreign. This plant is really a type of bunching onion from Asia, but it has a secret weapon. It's a hardy perennial. You plant this onion one time, and you can harvest from it for the rest of your life. It is the ultimate cut-and-come-again crop. Unlike regular onions, where you have to harvest the whole bulb, with Welsh onions, you just snip off the green tops whenever you need them. Just like you would with chives, the plant will just keep growing more. Or, if you need more onions, you can divide the clumps at the base and replant them. One plant can turn into a dozen, then 100. They are incredibly cold hardy and will often stay green and usable even under a layer of snow. It's a source of fresh onion flavor 365 days a year. So why would we ever use anything else? The simple answer is bulb onions. Agriculture shifted towards onions that produce a large single bulb that could be easily harvested by machine, stored for months and shipped around the world. The perennial clumping nature of the Welsh onion, which is its greatest strength in a garden, is a weakness in an industrial field. They are just too messy to harvest mechanically. This is a plant that wants to give you food forever, and we traded it for something that's easier for a machine to handle. Our number 3 spot goes to a humble hero, the field pea. Now, this isn't the sweet green pea you find in the freezer aisle. These are the tough, starchy ancestors of modern peas, and honestly, they were a cornerstone of the medieval food system. Field peas, also known as dried peas, were really the protein of the people. They're incredibly easy to grow and can produce a massive harvest of peas that can be dried and stored for years. For medieval soldiers on campaign, a sack of dried field peas was their primary source of protein and calories. These peas are unbelievably tough. They're incredibly drought-tolerant, able to produce a crop even in dry, difficult years when other crops fail. They also have a secret weapon. They are nitrogen fixers. This means they literally pull nitrogen from the air and store it in their roots, enriching the soil for whatever you plant there next. So they don't just feed you, they feed your garden too. They were the engine of medieval crop rotation, the key to maintaining soil fertility for centuries. The decline of the field pea is really a modern agricultural story. They were largely replaced by soybeans, another nitrogen-fixing legume, but one that was more profitable on the global commodity market, especially for animal feed and oil production. The humble field pea, which was perfect for small-scale farming and direct human consumption, was pushed aside for a cash crop. But for anyone looking for a drought-proof, soil-building, long-storing protein source, the field pea is an absolute must-have. In the runner-up spot, at number 2, is one of the fastest, easiest and most versatile greens on the planet, Cress. And I'm not just talking about one plant, I'm talking about a whole family of them, like land cress and watercress. What makes cress so incredible is its ability to grow almost anywhere. Land cress can be sown directly in your garden soil, providing a spicy, peppery green that tastes like a combination of arugula and mustard. And it grows so fast you can have a harvest in just a few weeks. Then you have watercress, which literally grows in running water, in streams, creeks and springs. For centuries, it was a free, abundant source of nutrition for anyone living near a clean water source. Both types of cress are absolutely packed with vitamin C. In an age before citrus fruits were widely available, cress was one of the most important defenses against scurvy. Sailors and monks alike relied on it to stay healthy. It was the original fast-growing, nutrient-dense salad green. Cress has been relegated to a fancy, expensive garnish, but it's so much more than that. Its peppery, spicy flavour is not what the modern palate, accustomed to bland iceberg lettuce, is used to. Furthermore, harvesting wild watercress requires knowledge of clean water sources, a connection to the landscape that honestly many have lost. But this is a plant that wants to grow. It offers incredible nutrition at lightning speed with minimal effort. It's a forgotten fundamental of a healthy diet. And the number one most forgotten, most incredible medieval crop that could save your garden is root parsley. I know it doesn't sound that exciting, but hear me out. This is not the parsley you grow for leaves. This is a variety grown specifically for its large, white, carrot-like root. Imagine a vegetable that combines the earthy sweetness of a carrot, the herby freshness of parsley, and the nutty depth of a parsnip and celeriac all in one. That is root parsley. It was the secret ingredient in medieval soups and stews. Before bouillon cubes and commercial stocks existed, this root was the key to creating a deep, complex, savory flavor base. It was the umami bomb of the Middle Ages. You would chop it up with onions and other roots to start your soups, and it would provide a richness that you just can't get from anything else. It stores incredibly well through the winter and is packed with vitamins. It is the forgotten foundation of European peasant cuisine. So why on earth did we forget about it? Specialization. We started breeding parsley for bigger leaves, and we started breeding carrots and parsnips for bigger roots. This amazing plant that did both, providing an edible root and edible leaves, was left behind. It's not as sweet as a modern carrot or as big as a modern parsnip, so it lost the competition. But it has a flavor complexity that neither of those vegetables can touch. It is the ultimate soup vegetable, a piece of culinary history, and the number one forgotten crop you need to grow. So there you have it, 15 incredible plants that have been almost completely erased from our food system. We've seen vegetables that taste like oysters, plants that can replace coffee, and roots that were the foundation of medieval cooking. It makes you wonder why. So why did big agriculture let these vegetables disappear? The answer is simple, and honestly, it's a little scary. They can't be patented, they don't need chemicals, and they make you self-sufficient. These plants are survivors. They're perennials, they self-seed, they resist disease, and they enrich the soil. These crops represent a different way of thinking about food. They don't fit into a system of monocultures, pesticides, and global shipping. They belong in a diverse, resilient garden, your garden. They represent food freedom. The power to grow your own unique, delicious, and nutrient-dense food without relying on a fragile industrial system. By planting even one of these, you're not just growing a vegetable, you're preserving history, improving your soil, and taking back control of your food. Now, I have a challenge for you. Which one of these 15 forgotten crops are you going to bring back? Let me know in the comments below. I want to see which one is the fan favorite. And I'll make you a deal. If this video gets 2,000 likes, I'll make a full, detailed follow-up video on exactly where to buy these forbidden seeds today. With links, company reviews, and everything you need to get started. So, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's bring these amazing plants back from the dead.